Guys, hope everyone is having a good evening, or whenever you're watching this. Myself and my man Louis have I finally downloaded Ecamm after about 4 days of kind of back and forth chat on WhatsApp about just how we're going to record this conversation, and we just had no idea really. So I had to just search the internet and finally found the program Ecamm. So now we have it. So we're going to call this, for the first episode, just the Jack and Louis podcast. It's a very kind of a bit of a shit name, but we'll probably change it. Well, we will change it going into next week and the week after. So I thought I would just give myself like a bit of an introduction for myself, and then I can obviously introduce Louis. So my name's Jack. I'm an online coach and a natural bodybuilder from Brighton in the UK. Been in the bodybuilding scene for quite a few years, really properly a couple of years. I've been a personal trainer since I was like 20, so a good 4 years. Online coach literally only started last Feb, so kind of done very well in that avenue, which is great. Obviously competed last year as a bodybuilder. You guys would have followed that. I know a lot of you who watch this would have followed my journey last year. Also, excuse me if I breathe in like weird sequences, because I'm very heavy and unfit at the moment and it's not good. I'm trying to sort that out, but yeah, it's not good. But that's kind of a little bit of a brief intro about me. Louis, do you want to introduce yourself, mate?
Yeah, so obviously my name's Louis. I'm a personal trainer and gym manager based in Bournemouth, to which I've been a gym manager now for 3 years. Online coach for 4, which is sort of what we'll touch on in terms of how it started for us and how it worked. So it's pretty cool that my journey is sort of the reverse of yours by the sounds of it, which is awesome. I've competed 5 times in men's physique categories and placed top 2 as a junior in a good regional show. And before that, in another life, I was a CrossFit coach and a football player like yourself, like you were. So that's sort of the journey of me going from now to where it all began.
Yeah, definitely. It was funny earlier when I told you I was playing football, and then you sent me a video of you like fucking bossing it down the left wing. That's craziness.
Man, so that's it, and how everyone has like the same background. I find that a lot in the fitness industry. There's a lot of sportsmen with that disciplined mindset, isn't it? How it just translates over into discipline 100% every day into bodybuilding. I found that happens more frequently.
Yeah, definitely. And the reason why I kind of got away from football is because I couldn't control the outcome whilst playing football. Like, you can control your... and when it comes to bodybuilding, you're in complete control of what you're doing. That's why I love it. I really do miss playing football because I was pretty good as well, which kind of sucks. That I just can't even run. I can't even run 100 yards without feeling out of breath now. So it's just a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with the sense of you're relying on someone else for your success, which is where I come to. And as you go down the leagues, it all gets a bit more random. And that was for me why I actually went into CrossFit first, was for that reason. And then slowly just sort of fizzled into enjoying the bodybuilding method of training more. So that's what got me focused into bodybuilding, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So, Louis, just a really quick round up from you. How did you get into competing? I think people would like to know that, and I can go about it, talk about it myself as well.
Yeah, definitely. So, competing came for me when actually I prepped Chris Pazienti for his first show. He sort of knew that I knew about nutrition through sport, and it was like, do you want to prep me for a show? And I was like, yeah, we'll see what a calorie deficit looks like in the flesh. Like, had no experience whatsoever, but from following his journey, and at this point, I was full-time gym instructor, part-time PT, and into CrossFit, and I was not enjoying it. And then seeing Pazzy's progress and then watching him on stage actually was then what made me go, oh, I fancy that. So then I think I went into a 6-week prep. I didn't eat a carb. I did an hour and a half of cardio every day, and then just stepped on stage shredded.
Yeah.
And as we know from learning it the hard way, did the absolute extreme, which that was over 3 years ago now. So that was actually how it happened for me. Just caught the bug from watching my first show.
Was that the photo that you sent me the other day?
Yes,
Mate, you look nuts though. You look ridiculous.
Goes against everything I believe in and how you should diet for a show. I'll never do it again.
You didn't even look like you on 0 grams of carbs. You look insane. The amount of fullness that you had in that.
Yes.
And you only did that in 6 weeks?
6 week, but it just went crazy. But what about yourself in terms of competing?
So it's competing. I've always wanted to kind of like be a bodybuilder and just compete as a bodybuilder. But I actually originally competed, which no one knows really about, apart from a couple of people when I posted this on social media the other day. I competed back in 2015 in a men's physique show. And just because I just wanted to compete, I didn't have the muscularity to be a bodybuilder. To be honest, I didn't have the muscularity to be a men's physique competitor either. I just wanted to do it. I've always wanted to do it, like from following people on like YouTube and just watching people compete. I've always just found it really interesting and I just loved the challenge. So I did that in 2015 in a UK BFF show. It was alright. It was alright. I enjoyed the challenge of the stage. And then after that, I was kind of like, okay, cool, like when am I going to go again? And I tried to prep in 2017 at the start, and I did like a few months, and I just sacked it off because I just dropped body fat and just dropped weight, and I just lost everything I had. I went from looking reasonably okay to just so skinny and flat and fat as well. Oh shit, I better not say I'm fat, otherwise I'll get people we'll get haters on here, man. And then obviously went into last year. So last year was it was initially a mini cut, and I just liked how I looked, and I just kept on getting leaner and leaner and leaner, and in the end I got pretty damn shredded and did alright, competed in 4 shows and just picked up the bug really from there. Now I'm obsessed with it every day. I remember talking to you, mate, about it when I finished my shows. You'll remember this as well, and I was like, mate, I feel awful. I feel so like. Do you remember I was telling you? I remember because I didn't know who else to speak to, and I just knew you through social media, and I knew you would give me your opinion. I knew you wouldn't bullshit me no matter what I wanted to hear or not. And I was like, mate, I just feel so bad. I don't know what to do. Like I feel like I'm just so fat, but my weight's the same, and you were just like, you need to just relax. Your body's so stressed, and I did relax. That was Louis' advice because I just couldn't relax. I was so fucked up. That's what bodybuilding does to you. So. Like going into this year, I just go on, mate.
That's something which we'll talk about at the end. Is that first show, first run of it?
Oh God, yeah.
How we're going to deal with that, and how people watching this needs to have a bit of education on what's to come. Because even from watching your prep, from when you were doing it for that long, from the outside, it's like he's got it nailed down. He's going to do so well. But even from someone who looks like it's all going to go well, it's still that post-show feeling which no one can go for. I remember after my first show, I had the whole sort of vicious cycle of not wanting to gain a single ounce of body fat, depriving my body, and then just binge eating like mad because my body was like, "What are you doing?" And that was my experience with the show. So yours was a little bit different. Mine was like a horrible rotation of no carbs still, because that was what got me lean. To then my body being like, mate, we need some food here, and then me not being aware enough up here and just going for the cheat meals. I was waking up in the night with like black sick over me, like it was a disaster, mate. And then to wean my way out of that was again from people who I knew wouldn't bullshit and finding the right source of information at the time. But yeah, it's crazy how that first show. But that's something that we'll obviously speak about going into it.
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely. Let's chat about some of our topics. So I think people like these kind of questions that we've obviously spoke about on WhatsApp. So like, I think we've already covered about how do we start. Would you say we've covered like how do we get into the industry? I think we've kind of already gone over that a little bit. We've both come from sporting backgrounds as such, haven't we?
Yeah, I think if we talk about actually how did we gain a client? Like, how did we actually go from having 0 online to yourself with what I think is pretty much a full roster now, right?
Yeah, I'm full. Yeah.
I think people watching this will want to know exactly. So what made you transition from the PT in the gym to then going, I don't actually need to work in the gym anymore because I can be sufficient outside via online? So that sort of transition for you, I think, would be
absolutely.
Be a cool insight.
Yeah, that's a great question. So like, I obviously started PT back in 2015 towards the end, so it was like Christmas time. Did it for like 2 years, and I really enjoyed it. To be fair, I really did enjoy it. I learned a lot about how people just tick from a psychological perspective, and I learned a lot about just training and how people should move, how to actually execute movements correctly. That's how I learned the brunt of my work, and that's how I learned the brunt of my work when it comes to stuff like just being able to communicate with people, and be able to like almost manage people, and like running a full business now, you have to be able to manage very well. So you need to be able to put yourself in other people's shoes and relate to them when you're speaking to individual clients. So coming from like a PT background, I obviously was prepping, and I remember I put a post up in February, I think, and I was just said like I'm looking for a few clients, like services are half price. From there, I literally took on about, I think in that initial kind of half price window, I got about 5 to 8 clients in the space of like a day. And from there, all I did... Sorry, mate?
Would you say that they were from your gym, or would you say they were completely random?
Yeah, absolutely random, actually. Yeah, I didn't know who they were. They were just from Instagram. It was just an Instagram post, and it was just DMs that I got later on in the day. So, like, from there, I just obviously took them on very low cost. We're talking anywhere from, I think when I started, it was like £40 a month, which at the time I was just happy to have, people to coach. I just wanted to coach, and from there, the goal was just to get results with clients. And then I think going from a position where you start and you take, like a few people on for very low cost, and then going forward, you get the results, you build up a few transformations, and as soon as you do well, one person, people start speaking, like word of mouth. It's just about people talk about you, like you do well, people talk about you, people see your current clients doing well, they go, well, what are you doing? Oh, I've got a coach. Oh, okay, what's his name? Follow you on Instagram, and then they'll see the content you put out, and you're consistent, and you train hard, and all of that kind of jazz, and then you get new people come in. So I think going from like 0 to full is massively, I'm not gonna lie, being in a position last year where I competed and showed superb discipline I started my diet in November. I dieted for a whole year, guys, and there was no off-plan meals. I trained every day, and I just did not stop. And I think a lot of people liked the fact that I was able to just be that relentless, and like in that, because people don't understand what it's like to diet down for that long, like you do. I know you do, but when you're doing it for so long, it really beats you up. But then coming out of obviously a prep, my business has just grown more and more and more, and I've just gained more and more clients. And now, like you said, in a position where I am very, very selective as to who I take on. Recently I've taken on, in the last few weeks, I've taken on a couple of people, and one of them was Ralph, who is a junior, two-time junior, two-time junior bodybuilding champion, and I've taken on another girl she's called Holly, and Holly Fletcher, and she's a UK BFF junior British bikini champion. So like I'm in a position now where I want to work with people who just want to work really hard, man. Like I'm sure you can relate to that. You just when you get people come in, and you can tell by the inquiries that you get and the questions you get asked. It's like if you get a question, it's like how much you charge. I already know that it's not going to work, because if your first thought is how much are you charging, how important is it to you? That's my question. So yeah, like I'm in a position now where I've worked extremely hard over a year, like relentless, and luckily enough, I can, not really luckily because I've worked for it, but very, very, very happy to be where I am, coaching online. And now it's obviously dream come true, really, man. What about you? Like, how did you go from, because I know you're crazy busy with your life. You're a nutter, to be honest, mate. I don't even know how you do it. I don't think I could do it. Craziness.
I think the cool thing about your story is that it's completely different to how I've got to the position where I'm at now. So, in terms of where my online is at, it is very close to a cap. And we see the guys who say that and it's bullshit. But we ain't those guys. Like when we say we're full, it's because we've got in excess of 50 online check-ins to do with detail each week. That's my idea of what a full online coach is. Yeah. Not I've got 2 spaces left. But that's just sales ploys anyway. But anyway, in terms of how it actually started for me was I was working as a gym instructor at a gym, a chain gym, a well-known one. And their structure there is that if you're a fitness instructor, you can't personal train. So you either work as a gym instructor, working the gym floor, talking to people, taking the classes, or you're a PT and you're paying rent. Now, I just moved back from living in Florida, playing football out there. And so I had absolutely no intention of becoming a personal trainer, because the self-employed model scared me at the time. There's overheads. I'd come back, I had nothing to show for it, so I chose the instructor route, which I'm so grateful that I did, because like you said, it learns execution. You're doing it on the love of fitness to begin with. So for me, I was helping people on, I think it was like £6.80 an hour at the time, and I was taking them away for like an hour session and treating it like and learning the graph without even really knowing it. So it was sort of, when I look back, I'm very grateful for it. But at the time, I was there like, I'm taking this amazing 1 hour session and then I'm giving them to someone else. And I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah. But
I wasn't in a position where I could take that jump. So I was there for a good year. And during this point is when I started to phase into CrossFit and to just generally gaining some muscle and in becoming an athlete, taking that mentality that I had as a football player and putting that into nutrition and training. So a little bit similar to yourself, I sort of started gaining a bit of following, but it was mainly, I was known as the guy in the gym. Like, you had the PTs, but then the instructor was the guy who trained hard, sort of thing. And so over time, I had more and more people asking me for PT sessions, and I was like, well, I can't, and I'm not that guy who's going to start being sneaky or any of that. Like, I had always been, straight down the line, work hard. So, and then I started to think, well, how about I send you a workout chart of mine? And it was on notes on an iPhone, right? This is like 3-4 years ago. And then I started to think, I could probably charge for this. I don't know how much, but I could probably, I could charge something. And so that was sort of how I got around not doing it, but doing it.
Yeah.
And rightly or wrongly, of course, some people started to get a bit pissed off, but, I was just in this world of unknown. Like, at this point, I didn't even know, like, there was no such thing really as online coaching. So I'd take their email, I'd ask them what's the goal from the plan and their training experience. And I think I was charging like £30 to write a plan, which was taking me like 5 hours because I was overthinking every rep, and I was learning stuff and trying. It was crazy, like, when I look back. But so for me, that was where online started. And like you said, for me, I think 8 out of 10 of my clients are from word of mouth. So it was building that, and then I realised that these people don't really know what they're doing with the eating stuff, so they're not actually progressing. But for me, food was just a baseline of something which I knew I had to do. And so then from then, that was where I started adding like a nutrition bolt-on of such. And then I created a summer shred plan, which I think I sold for £50. It was 4 weeks of like a training split with a diet to match based on like a macro thing. Again, my knowledge at the time was very weak, and I accepted that, and I also advised that. I said, look, this is at your discretion, because like I'm in my first 12 months of the industry. Like, you're doing this based on a bit of a whim, to be fair. So I said at their discretion, they follow it. And I think that summer I sold like 130 copies, and like I'd never seen it like that. For me, it was like, what was going on? This is crazy. Like, there's so much to do in the online world. Yeah. And obviously off the back of making that many sales, there was that many results. Like, the results came with it. And then that was where online started for me. And then during that time, I transitioned into working at another gym chain with an option to PT and work gym hours. And that was a big Bournemouth-based gym. It was like a bit of a hub of a gym. So it was for BH Live, who I work for now. So I grabbed my level 3, and that's where I just slowly transitioned into doing everything. So that was where I took ownership as a PT a little bit more. And again, like that feeling when you have your first client and you're up for 2 hours writing up a session, and then it's like creative, and then you start to understand human behaviour and what people actually want from a PT session. Yeah. And that was where I started to think, I love PT and I love helping people, but it's not that performance goal based like you get from someone who's really dedicated online. Like when you grab someone who is an athlete or a football player or is going to compete, that was where I was like, this is what I want to do. This is it for me. I don't want to just train someone who wants to chat for a bit. That's great. So then I started honing my skills on attracting people who competed. That's when I did the Pazzi thing and competed myself. And I slowly just started going to more of this niche of, well, if I'm going to PT someone, it's because they either have got the same mentality as an athlete who wants to compete, but they don't, but they got that same drive, and like you said, you just know, so I'm going to take them on. Yeah. Or it's going to be someone that competes at a high level, which just sort of slowly put me into where I'm at now, where, similar to yourself, I attract those people who are going to work hard or compete. And then obviously over the 2 years working there, I transitioned to getting a senior manager role at another BH Live, which is where I'm at now at Corfmullen. So I'm based there and I look after the PTs there. And then I limit my PT to 10 a week. And they're the guys who compete and just see me for the X, Y, and Z. And then everything else is online now. So that is my story of how I'm here now, talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds, it's like you said, very different to my story, which is cool. It's very diverse, isn't it? So it just goes to show that people go through different avenues and journeys to get to where they get to, essentially. Because I know you're getting up you get up in the morning at what time?
So the alarm's either 5 to 5 or 5:35, depending on the day. That's the variant I get. Yeah. And then obviously we're here now doing this till half. We'll be here till like 10, half 10, and then I'll read, and then I'll go in and get on with it again. But that's me at the minute, and I'm not looking for balance. I'm not looking for that term balance ever. I'm looking for driving a business and driving myself in every way. So in terms of balance, there's just no such thing, and you're in the same boat. I see. Like, it took us nearly a week just to organise an hour. We were both genuinely free.
Yeah, I know. It's
like,
yeah, I know. We actually.
I'm like, what? So, like, I know that you can appreciate that balance. There is no such thing as that. If you wanna be a pioneer in your sport and a pioneer as a coach, then there's no such thing as like a 30-hour week. Like, it's just out the window.
Yeah, it's so true, because it did actually take us at least 5 days to organise the time. Like, legit, guys.
Generally,
yeah, it did. Like, even Louis said in one of his Instagram stories earlier, it's like, Jack's actually got an hour for me today. I was like, fuck's sake. But it's like, it's what happens. But when you're really busy, you actually are really busy. Like, I even said to Louis about maybe doing this tomorrow earlier, but it's really good that we're doing it now, because I wanted to get it in. But like tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it's just, for me, it's just insane, to be honest. Let's roll on to the next question. Louis, I'm going to ask you this question. This is a good question. If you could start again, what would you do different, or would you not do anything different?
If I could start my journey into getting the online thing where I could now, is I would absolutely not focus on social media presence at all. I would concentrate on consistent content with networking on a face-to-face basis, and applying that word of mouth more precisely. So getting reviews, encouraging people to post to it in the circle, build it that way. I was very much someone driven by ego when I was starting out, because I got in some really good shape at like 19, 20. I was strong, and I didn't have enough education to be able to put any good content out there. I didn't even know there was such thing as good content. My perception of building a following came solely from showing my abs and lifting the weight up and down. And I can fully put my hands up and say that. And I was chasing likes and hashtags. So if I could do it all over again, it would be consistent content, valuable content, learn stuff, and word of mouth, and encourage that circle and that team environment.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's so bad, so bad on. And you can tell as well, like, from your content over the last 6 months, it's just gone through the roof, hasn't it? And it has. I remember your following has gone through the roof as well because of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, this is the thing in the fitness industry, is like, people seem to get to a place where they think that that's their platform because they've done a show. Like, being really, really stereotypically, don't get it wrong, we know there's amazing coaches out there. But that was me. I was literally like, well, this is it now. Like, it's not that at all. And it took me so long to be able to realise that. It took me over 3 years. So definitely now it's more of a platform where I have the confidence to talk about the things I want to talk about. Like, I had these thoughts and motives for a long time to want to talk about mental health more and talk about all the isolation that we go through in the industry and anyone in general can relate to. But it was that ego thing again. It was like, I can't be that guy talking about that. I can't be that. I'm Louis. Like, what's going on? And then I realised, no, it is me, and I've got to stop being a knob about it and start helping people out. So that was my journey, and that's why you've seen it play.
Yeah, it's true, man. It's true. And when it comes to myself, like, what would I do different? I think that I actually looked back at my old sort of the stuff I used to put out on Instagram, and I can relate so much for doing stuff and putting things up for just the wrong reasons, 100% the wrong reasons. Like, just you think because you've got abs or you've got, you know, shredded waist or shredded jawline, you're like some sort of king when you're not. And I think I did a lot of stuff, like you said, for the wrong reasons, just trying to almost use social media as like we discussed the other day, Louis, didn't we? Like, people use social media to try and just cause problems, and their life is so boring in their small circle that all they've got to do is cause like just problems of issues and people. And I think I went through a period of time where I'd love a call out. I'd love to try and just create issues for no reason. So if I could go back, it would be to change how I approached social media and actually used it. I just used it for the wrong reasons, just trying to cause problems, and just not trying to use it for what it's there for now, which is trying to push content and help people. Like it's craziness. Like, you remember a couple of weeks ago when we were speaking about all that shenanigans that went on Instagram, and we had like a private chat. Like, we speak a lot, and we don't even need to address that, do we, on social media? And I shouldn't have addressed it.
Still in a world where that's always gonna be there. In a bit more time, it would just be deleted and left. But the point of all that is that it's not our fault. It's the product of what we grow up and we scroll through anyway. We live in a world where we scroll through and the first thing that we do see is the app. So our measure of what we thought was the right thing to do at the time was to do that, because when I followed people, it was all like, buy my ebook, here's my belts. So in terms of realising that, and in terms of how the social media has changed for the better with educators and really good content, it sort of goes, well, no, this is now what I aspire to be. And it's only in the last sort of year, maybe 18 months, that these people are slowly coming through. So, like, we were always going to be the product of the ego generation because we didn't know anything else. That's what social media could be. So I think it's credit to obviously yourself too to go, no, that isn't right. I need to adapt. I'm going to learn from it. And now here we are showing that. And even, like, your personality has always been there. It was just like a thing that you could never let that guard down because you've never seen it yourself on someone's phone, being honest. You know, so we broke the mold in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when it comes to social media, we just need to accept that there's always going to be that negative side. You know, I think whatever avenue you go down in life, mate, like, not just the fitness industry, but just any industry. Like, you know, any gym environment, any work environment, anywhere, you're gonna have that kind of situation, right? And I think it's just about learning to just sort of like acknowledge it, take it for what it is, and take it on the chin, and just move forward and just put it into perspective and think to yourself, okay, is that going to affect my life? Absolutely not. Do I need to worry about it? Absolutely not. So you just let things go over your head, which obviously in the past I have struggled to do. I've always thought that I need to, like, approach it in an aggressive manner. And looking back and how I've acted in the past at certain things, it's just it's not a mistake. It's just a lesson learned. I think it's just, everything's lesson. I don't say I've made any mistakes. It's just about moving forward and becoming better, you know, becoming a better person, coach, bodybuilder. In every avenue, I just want to improve. So I think, you know, if we were to sit here and say, oh, we've never made a mistake, that's just us being dicks, isn't it? Knobs, because quite frankly, I think everyone makes some not so mistakes, but errors, and then they can move forward and just progress from there. That's how you learn, isn't it?
100%, and especially in the world of social media, is you can't take it personally. So that's the thing. It's not real life.
I love how you're smiling at that. Yeah.
But everyone gets caught up with that to an extent. And like the big thing that I try and encourage all my clients to do is to never follow an account or someone that doesn't make you feel happy. Like that's the bottom line of it, because they try and say to get off your phone, but realistically it's what we spend most of our day looking at. So when I go on my phone, all I see is my flourishing friends, flourishing clients, like people like yourself, and all I see, I'm just like, yeah, every time I see it. Like, I'm not going to associate even with like the materialistic things. Like, no, I don't want to see that Lamborghini because I don't drive one. So why do I want to see something that I don't have? So like something so simple in your life will change how you view things. Like and that was the big thing that I've found in the last sort of year or so, maybe 18 months now, is detach yourself from things that you don't have and just focus on the circle that will make you happy. And then social media becomes such a nicer place to be.
Yeah, it does, mate. It does. Yeah, people just need to like watching this and they can relate or resonate in some way. Just try and listen to two people who've been there and they've done it and they've come out the other side. And if you're in a position now where you are going through, urges or needs to act in ways as such, don't worry about it. You will come out the other side. You always will and do. And that's what I've learned a lot, guys, from following Lewy. Actually, just generally, the positivity that this guy spreads on social media is absolutely unheard of. I cannot name one other person on social media who I literally look at their story, and I'm not just licking your ass because I'm not. I tell you this, and if I didn't think I wouldn't tell you. Like, that's, what I'm like, and like the positivity that you spread is just kind of like it shines through you as a person, mate. If that makes sense, and it just it goes through you, through your physique, through your training and your coaching, and it just keeps stepping up. So it's great, man. It's really good.
Yeah, I appreciate that, mate. The sort of message that I'm trying to put out is that, like, if you've got the healthy mind intact and you're feeling good about yourself, that is all that matters. Because, again, like, I've been someone who's been incredibly shredded and all that, and that didn't bring happiness at all. Like, that's why when I'm just putting things out there, like, that is all that matters is literally, are you happy? And if you're not, then what will make you happy? But make sure that in what you're deciding, is that actually going to be happiness? Because if you're chasing something which is materialistic, that has a timestamp. If you're chasing something that someone else has, then you need to reassess what it is that makes you happy. And that's why, for me, from having all those things at some point and realising it meant nothing, that sort of stripping everything away and realising that relationships with people, with family, and something so simple, it sort of takes away the need for social media at all. So that's why I'm sort of just trying to remind people in their scope of what they should maybe be trying to find happiness in. That's why, like, with my daily little tips and stuff, it's not really about the gym. Like, it's not like, it's just a byproduct. Like, the exercise and discipline through that is overcoming your own battles to do something that you maybe didn't want to do, which makes you feel good. But the content itself is just about stuff you can apply every day. So, but I appreciate, obviously, that you feel it is positive, because that's the fucking point. Because that's all you ever should be. That's all I ever want to be. So yeah, it's nice to hear.
Yeah, but you know that I've told you that before, though. Before we even started speaking more, I even said that to you, didn't I? Which is really cool, man. It's really cool.
Yes, mate. So, in terms of obviously what we've mentioned there, and going on to the next question is obviously going and talking about the first show. So, in terms of the advice, any tips, if we sort of maybe think back to the process of deciding on a show, the expectations versus reality. Because obviously our mindsets, again, being sportsmen, it was kind of easy for us to go into 100% with something. To maybe draw on clients' experiences too. But any tips for those who are thinking of doing a show or are literally going into their first show?
Yeah. So first off, my biggest tip is, why are you doing it? Are you doing it for the right reasons? Do not do it for things like Instagram likes or social media fame. Do you know why? Because when you get, this is just at the start, when you get to the nitty gritty days, if the only thing that's motivating you is a like on Instagram or an ab shot, you're not going to be able to stick to a diet when you're shredded out of your mind and you do not feel good. You do not feel good. So make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. First off, please please do that. Secondly, just be honest with yourself and be realistic, okay? So when I first did my show last year, I went into it with the mindset of, I'm going to do my absolute best here, but I know full well that there's going to be people up against me who are older and better, but that doesn't discredit the work that I can put in as an athlete. And that's exactly what I did. So be realistic with your expectations. Don't beat yourself up if you see someone else who you're competing against who's just crazy. Like, massive fault of mine last year was, I'm not sure, he might watch this, a guy called Luke Austin, who was the BMBF Southern lightweight champion. He beat me. He messaged me 2 days out. No, I'm not even joking. He messaged me 2 days out, and he was so cool. He was like, can't wait to share the stage of you. Been following you on social media. That was it. And I looked at that, and when I looked at that message, I was like, my heart just dropped. My stomach just went into a whole like heap of butterflies. I remember I went on his profile, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is gonna absolutely wipe the floor with me. And that was the wrong thing to do, because I catastrophized about his physique, how he's going to beat me, his poses. I was doing weird shit like comparing his shots to mine on like Pixar, and I was like, Jack, what are you doing? This is not what you're competing for. And like in the end, he did beat me, yes. Why? Because he was better than me, and that was cool. But never compare yourself to competition, which is another thing. If you're competing for the first time or any time, never compare yourself, especially when it comes to when you're competing in a subjective sport like bodybuilding, because some people may say that, you know, Jack looks better than Louis in that shot, but Louis looks better than Jack in that shot. And again, it's a game it's based on opinions. It's almost like me saying, I find her attractive, but I don't find her attractive, but then Louis is the complete opposite to me. So it's just it's based on, you know, judges' opinions, and also never let judges, you know, almost put you in a place, so to speak. A placing on stage does not dictate you or your worth. You know, obviously we want to win. Of course, like me and Louis have come from sporting backgrounds. We don't want to lose. We don't compete to lose. Like, that's not the goal. But the goal is to control every variable that we can control. And ultimately, if we can get in the best shape that we can going into a show, that is every variable ticked, and the rest is down to the judges. And, you know, the last little tip I'd say is, you know, if you haven't got a coach and you're doing it for your first time, get a coach, please. Because in hindsight, post-show, I wish I had a coach. I really wish I did, to tell me to do this, that, rather than me just trying to control everything. I like having an element of control, but post-show, I really was not in a good place. So expect as well, after your first show, just expect that. I don't care how optimal your approach is post-diet. I don't care how many grams of carbohydrates you're able to put away. I don't care if you're assisted. I don't care if you're on a nice amount of testosterone per week. You will feel like dog shit, okay? So expect that. You will never look at a body the same again, I promise you. Like, I've come out of that prep, and how long has it been? 7 months. I honestly think I'm psychologically somewhat a little bit scarred from the normal perception of a look. Like, you're probably looking at me now on the camera, and you're thinking, you may look at me and analyse me and think your face looks a bit chubby. But is it just normal, really? Is it just a normal face? Or is it just because I'm not dieted down and inside out shredded? Like, your perception, it will get skewed. So just accept that. You'll look at yourself and think you're really out of shape when you're not. And I appreciate that, and I know that that's the case, but it's still difficult for you to get over psychologically. I'm sure you've experienced that, right, Louis?
Yeah, when you said it changes your perception of what's normal, I think that, for me, again, because we're coming from a place where we consider ourselves headstrong, sporting background, I'm trying to think of the clients who I've dealt with who were just lifestyle clients who went into a show and how it become a bit of a disaster. Like, you must accept when you're going into this world that your headspace and perception of what is normal completely changes. And if you're not someone who is fully comfortable 24/7 with how they look and how they feel and what the environment is that they are in, then don't compete. Because even if you go in like with what Jack mentioned of, okay, I'm expecting nothing, I'm doing it because I really love bodybuilding, I want to do a show, you still got to accept that you are going to be the leanest you've ever been in your life, and that is the perception of going on stage, is you're judged on how lean you can be. So then what is good then changes forever, and that's regardless of what your intentions are. And the majority of people who I've dealt with, again touched on the coaching side of things, they get a coach until the day of the show, and then they wave goodbye. Yeah. And I think it's just ridiculous. And if you're looking like what you mentioned, if someone's considering budget, then don't do it, because a 12 to 16 week prep, if you do it properly with correct natural supplementation, let alone advanced supplementation, with correct food choices and coach, like, you're looking at thousands just to keep yourself in physical check, which in turn will help the mental. So you've really got to want to do it and commit to it. And I think that in terms of the amateur scene, you shouldn't really do it just because you want to compete. You should generally compete, for me, if your intention is to turn pro, because your mindset shifts and you can build on what is real and what isn't real. Like for me now, I've got absolute no issues with how I look at myself in terms of where I'm at. Like, I know that that's the sport and it's game day, and when it's not game day, that's not what I look like. I'm not pinching myself in the hips to see if I've gained a bit of fat. And I think that's because of the mindset where you accept that when you're aspiring to become a professional in the sport. So it's a completely different outlook for me, I think, because I've seen it firsthand many times with people who build up their hopes and dreams thinking that they might do well, and then they don't. I'm so proud of them because they've applied discipline into their life and they've done something they didn't want to do, which is adhere to a calorie deficit for a long time. And then it's like their whole world is like, they can't accept it and they hate it. And I'm like, you were in such a better place before you met me. And like, what's going on? So for me, it's always like the spiritual outcome with wanting to do something like this. And touching on the isolation, like, if you're not willing to spend most of the time on your own, you won't be able to do it from a logistics point of view. Like, it won't work. So accept that you've got to spend a lot of time on your own. And if you don't like the person you are when you're on your own, then you're just going to be in a negative headspace. If you don't like the way you look and you tell yourself you don't like, then all you're doing is having a bad conversation all day long with yourself. And like the power of self-talk is ridiculous, because we spend most of the time on our own, especially on prep. The full-on conversations that I have with myself in my head when I'm waiting for my chicken to cook is borderline. You think it's pretty crazy sometimes, but if that's not positive and you don't like yourself, and then you go into this prep, and then what's real becomes blurred, and all of a sudden you're just in this crazy headspace. And mental health in terms of with bodybuilding is something that, you know, should be addressed further, and it needs to be looked into, because again, for us as professionals, it's hard for us, and even we struggle. I know you obviously struggle really bad, but as did I with my first show. I'm just 3-4 years down the line, as will you be with your next show. Like, you're there now, but that's because you're a coach yourself and you've got people around you. I'm just thinking of the guys who go off into distance and you never hear from them again, and where they're at now. So definitely just really think about what you're getting yourself into, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Just do it for the right reasons. But what you are getting yourself into is something that you're going to have to just be able to adapt pretty fucking rapidly, or it's going to eat you alive. Alive. Right. You're going to fire me. You're going to fire me the next question.
So the one thing that I thought we should talk about a little bit more is go into the mental health side of things.
Yeah.
In terms of, for yourself, I'm going to assume that yours was a lot of anxiety, because it was a lot of worry of what X person was doing and what Y person was doing.
Was this was this pre-show or post-show?
Going into the show and post-show.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Just talk about sort of your mental health And obviously from yourself being a pioneer as an athlete and as a coach, everyone assumes that you're untouchable and that you're on top of your game. But what was the reality of it at the time? Now, hopefully, you feel you can talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. So going into my shows, I felt like my first few shows, I felt unbelievable. I felt motivated. I felt like I was literally walking like on water. Like I felt like I was in control of everything. I felt like I was an absolute boss. I felt like I dieted for like 9 months, hadn't even cracked once with my nutrition. And like coming out the other side, I was so motivated to improve. Like the anxiety going into the show days actually weren't high. I was just excited to compete because I knew that what I was going to display was nothing but hard work. I had nothing like I wouldn't get on stage and think I could have done this there, or I shouldn't have had that meal there, or I shouldn't have cheated on my diet there. There was no like negative thoughts going through my mind because I know that I didn't, like, people who followed the prep and they know me personally will know that I worked so hard like last year. Like we're talking from November till September, and I did not stop on the diet once. Hence why post show I kind of crumbled a little bit, which is, I never really spoke about this, but I will do. I think people will really find it kind of insightful. But post show I found it, I honestly was probably the worst period of my life when it comes to bodybuilding, or just generally ever. I honestly, like, gaining weight post show, I just felt so bad doing it, to be honest with you. Like I just felt so, like, my confidence was just wiped. Like I was, like, little things like I would be so scared to talk on the Instagram stories, to go on the front camera, because I would look at my face and I would just think to myself, like, oh my god, my face looks chubby, like I'm no longer good looking, like I thought I'm no longer attractive at all. Like I went, like, and probably the worst thing for me was the food focus post show. It was unheard of. Like, you're talking, I would go into the gym at like 2:00, and the first thing I'd think about was how long until I can finish this session and go home and eat my meal. And until you've actually experienced that thought, I'm not being funny, but you'll never understand how I'm saying what I'm saying, because the being obsessed with your meals, especially post show, when you think to yourself, well, why am I trying to adhere to a calorie intake when I've been adhering to an intake for 9 months? Why am I hungry? Why am I still food focused? The reality is, because you've been dieting for 9 months, your hormones have absolutely fucked up. You know, things like leptin are just absolutely just all over the place. You know, your hunger hormones, your hunger signals are just fried, to be honest. So post show hunger was just uncontrollable. I never really had any sort of binges as such, but I would wake up in the morning, and this was another thing that I never used to do, was I'd get on the scale, and say if I was up a pound, I would look in the mirror straight away and I'd think, okay, so where's that pound gone? Because I'm definitely not leaner. Then I would squeeze and I still do it today, I'm not going to lie, like I squeeze the front of my abs, and then my waist, and my face, and then my lower back, and I'd almost catastrophize myself into this feeling of like body fat self-worth, and my self-worth is reliant on my condition in that moment, and I'd get this horrible overwhelming feeling of feeling like really hot, really anxious, of like this hot surge go through your body, and you question like what you're doing and why you're doing it. And even to this day, like I still feel like that sometimes, and we're talking almost 9 months since I've last competed. So I think mentally and physically, like it really does scar you. So just make sure that if you are going to get into this game, you are prepared to definitely go through some bad days. Like I remember talking to Lewy about this as well back in November, and I was like to him, mate, I actually don't know what to do. Like I genuinely don't know what to do. And he was just like, mate, you just need to chill out and go and eat an all-you-can-eat sushi. I actually remember having that conversation as well. Do you remember when we spoke about that?
Well, I said, bro, go eat some sushi. And then I think when you hear it from the outside, it's like, shit, yeah, I just need to go eat some sushi. So touching on sort of the human behaviour into why, maybe to make a little bit more sense of what I think happened with yourself, is that because your prep was so long, is you ingrained that subconscious habit into that was what your body needed to do to survive. So on a subconscious level, your mind was like, this is what we do because this is what we do every day.
Yeah.
No difference to the flip side of that of someone who has an unhealthy diet, which I spoke about in my story today. You know, if they eat in that 6 to 8 p.m. hour window on the sofa all day, they'll get to the point where they'll eat and they'll forget they've eaten. Like, you had the extreme flip reverse because you consciously were so driven to build that shredded physique that your subconscious mind was just on this automated system like, mate, we're in the kitchen and we're eating this and it's going to be to the letter. And then obviously having to deal with what you spoke about with what we see as good or what we see as ugly then changes too. So it's like a mixture of the two of the subconscious and then that. So by me saying, like someone from the outside just going, have some sushi, mate, it just went, oh, wait, oh, man, yeah, I'm just going through the motions, but the motions is just the extremeness of the diet which took place, which for me with my first show, I didn't have because it was 6 weeks, so I was sort of caught between the ego of looking great and not wanting to release it. The habit of the food wasn't really there because it was 6 weeks, so I didn't really build it. A habit takes 2 months to a year to build. You know, you were right on the end of a year, so in terms of like what my mental health was really nothing to do with competing, because after I'd done that first show, I was just so open to, it wasn't the driver for me to wanting to really push my physique in that way. I was still very much involved in CrossFit. I did a show because I had the buzz, and this is what I'm saying, like, you got to be in it because you want to do it, which is why now for me, 4 more shows later, I'm committed to that, and I love it, and I love the process. Yeah. But the sort of the mental health issues that I've had over the, say, year to about a year, I reckon, a bit shorter. Again, from the social media side of things, people think it's all good, but the issues that I was having was I wasn't growing as a person anymore, and that was like on a whole other level to compete altogether. It was more like business, life, physique to an extent, because I wasn't growing. Like, I built a backward momentum in everything I was doing, from a nutritional point of view too. Like, all the things that if you would describe me as a person, I slowly was losing. Yeah. And that was my decline, my mental health post-show was nothing really to do with the physical. It was all more to do with how I felt, what I was doing spiritually in other areas. So again, a completely different look on it to yourself, which I think is awesome, because we're covering more bases with what I think people will go through. And I really hope that they can draw on these experiences and figure out where they sort of fit, and know that 2 guys who can seem to have it all from a fitness and life perspective is not always the case, but while they're in that dark place, they can't open up to it because you can't. But now we're on the other side. Hopefully, if anyone's watching it in that boat, they can put the steps forward in wanting to help make themselves grow and change. That's the main thing for me about today, and I'm sure that's exactly the same for you.
Yes, mate, 100%. Do you find that you're prep? Actually, you're in prep, aren't you? So no point asking you that. You've been in prep for how long now?
I think I'm week 8, and this is week 8. Before that, it was. Yeah. So my coach, Dean, yeah, he's relentless, but it's again because of I love that side of it. I love the professionalism. It's like, get the job done. Like, there is no mental breaks if you want us to be successful. Like, let's go. And that's me as a person. So I'm cool with that. But yeah, I think this is end of week 8, maybe end of week 9. Yeah. I've had 2 relaxed meals so far. So Christmas Day was meal prep plus Christmas dinner. So yeah, you know, it's a psychological in itself in that way, but it's just discipline for me, and it's something which I need to take the steps to turn pro, which is why I don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Louis, just to give our listeners an idea, when is your first show?
So my first show is the 31st of March. So that'll be 2 Bros in Watford.
I'll be there.
And then we're going to assess that. Going to see how things go from there. Maybe do another one in Hull, which is mid-April. Hopefully, maybe look to go to Alicante to do an abroad one. That'd be an awesome experience. Yeah, absolutely. And then depending on the physique and the scope of where I'm at. If things don't go to what I'll say go to plan, then maybe look to do like a PCA body power while I'm there, because I'll be there with A-List, as will you be there with your sponsors. Yeah. So there's like 3 lined up. Hopefully we tick the box by number 3, and I can go to body power. But if not, still try and make a stamp in maybe another division.
Yeah,
but they're my dates.
Louis, the ultimate goal for you is what? I think you tell our listeners.
Sorry, mate.
The ultimate goal is for you this year. What's the goal?
It is going to be to turn pro. Ain't gonna lie.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. I just wanted to hear it.
Yeah, it is the goal, and I think to be able to show that you can be in a real dark place mentally within the last 12 months, to which was suicidal thoughts, was the whole shebang, to show that through making a conscious decision to want to be disciplined, like when I was getting myself out of that place of eating bad and bad lifestyle, my subconscious wanted to stick that out because that was safe and that was a comfort.
Yeah.
Just to show that, like, you know, when I'm eating kale and chicken, like, I don't enjoy it. I'm sure you get the same when people go, "Oh, you must really enjoy eating that sort of food." I'm like, no, it's just that's the side of the discipline which I'm making that conscious decision, and over time, yeah, it might become a bit of a habit and it gets a bit of a flow zone to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd much rather have a pizza over kale and chicken all day long. But it's just to hopefully show that it'll be the absolute icing on the cake, and it is a drive as a sportsman to want to succeed. But to show the decline of a mental health to the rise of it, I think that for me is more the spiritual side rather than the £5 medal. Maybe it's a bit more actually in Two Bros. It might spend a little bit more on it.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. But it would be absolutely lovely for you to take a card, wouldn't it though?
Disappear because I'm just charging my laptop. To be fair, we're doing alright. I didn't time this in. I'm maybe on my last meal.
You're going catabolic on the camera.
Yeah, I'm just turning into a skeleton right here, right now. There you go, I'm all good. But yeah, absolutely. Let's try and get that pro card together and show that
absolutely.
Your mental health can
absolutely, yeah.
turn it around.
I genuinely think you can do it as well, to be honest with you, because you undersell your physique so much. I know you do. You're very humble. But yeah, 100%. I'm excited to see it happen. Really, it'd be great to see it happen. So you've got like less than 2 months to see it happen.
Yeah, like in terms of my own body and how I feel, it's responding now. Like healthy mind, healthy body, mate. Like in terms of when I've tried to make progress when I've been really stressed and like workload's too much, mental health's bad. Like because I'm in such a tranquil place of like detached from ego, materialistic, wanting to be happy. Like my body's responding like crazy. Like the body fat's flying off, and my numbers are still going up. I'm expecting that to sort of shift a little bit now. For example, my rest day calories is about 2,100. You know, and obviously the days that I have sort of thing. So I'm waiting for the sport performance to decrease. My body's responding like mad, and I'm really confident like with how that's going. I'm really happy about that. But that's credit to me for following the thing. Obviously, my coach Dean is the mastermind who I've put all my trust into every step of the way, which I love. And I think only the closed-minded ones accept that you don't need a coach, like you mentioned. Like every professional team has got a professional team of coaches behind them. Like it's no difference if you want to excel in this sport, you need that, and probably more so. Yeah. So if we go on to some listener questions.
Oh yes, absolutely, mate.
People are going to enjoy watching us.
How long have we been? Oh Jesus, an hour. Wow, so this is a long podcast. People are going to enjoy this.
They can split into a few walks. They got to get us steps in. If they're part of my team anyway, they've got steps to get. I'll just force them to watch it every time. Have you got any questions?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to scroll through the good ones that I've found.
Yeah, I've got one good one, if I can get it out. Where's our chat? There you are. So, yeah, I've got a question. First off, this is kind of a joke question. I'd rather someone commented on the post the other day when I put it up saying, "You look like Steve Cook." And my response to guys was, I'd rather have Louis on than Steve Cook all day. That was just a bit of a joke question. Anyway, so I've actually got one question. So I've got a question. This is from one of my clients, Jenny. She loves the question. So question for you, Louis, actually. This even has your name on it. So when prepping clients, would you ever implement a meal plan if food focus got high, if you generally had a client with high food focus? And what is your views on coaches who use this method? Good question.
That's a very, very good question. Now, for how I do things, my side of things, I love to control every single variable to the letter from the get-go. So in terms of a food plan in place and the focus of it, that's from the get-go, regardless if you come to me from 32 weeks out or 8. That's just the way that I've always operated as a coach, especially if you're competing. Lifestyle for me different. Adhere to a calorie deficit. We can play with some funky things and make that still happen. But yeah, so for me, it's from the get go, regardless of where you're at. Get ready to have the food plan come right at you. For me. What about yourself? I'd be interested to sort of hear, because for me, that was like when that question just got asked, I thought that's just a normal for me. It's like that's just what it is. It's what it is. Obviously, you obviously do things differently based on that, which is. Which would be cool to hear what you get up to.
Yeah, my approach is completely based on the individual. So, for example, Jenny has macros. I give Jenny macros because I know for a fact that Jenny is going to hit her fucking macros to the gram. I also have clients as well who I know struggle sometimes with hitting macros. So those clients will be getting a meal plan, because contest prep, there is no room for error. I will not allow it as a coach. No, thank you very much. Because if you want a contest prep, you got to get your head down and get stuck in. So I think it depends on the client. I really do. For example, myself last year, I used macros daily, but I ate the same things every day. But I was tracking with my fitness pal. I wasn't following a structured meal plan that was just structured to the day. So I think it's very dependent on the individual. I think that as food focus gets higher, I think eliminating the thought process behind, what can I fit in my macros today, can be quite healthy, because you can spend a lot of time on my fitness pal trying to worry about how many grams of golden grams or shreddies you can have, instead of just not having that and not having to have that kind of focus, and just eliminating that decision fatigue when it comes to nutrition. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I think for me, that's why I've naturally always gone down that road of this is what we're doing. The flexibility that I'll allow at the start, maybe, as you mentioned, is potentially food types, but that I actually put that in the plan of a variable that they can decide upon. But I just love to know the person inside out. And if I've given them an X meal and they feed back the digestion and they say, that's fine, energy's good, like I had a dip, then I'm like, well, what? That's it then. We're there. That's for comp prep anyway. Lifestyle is 100% got to be what fits their lifestyle, right? Like macros, various meals, recipes. I want you just to eat 3 of these meals from this recipe. Like this, get that habit going. This build that. But in terms of competition, like what was mentioned in the question, and it's for me, I'm controlling everything because you pay me to do it, and I'm not taking a risk with you. Bloody scanning in the wrong bacon, trying to work out what fat you've got for the rest of the day, and you're saving carbs until the end of the day and eating a pack of Skittles. Like that would just drive me mad, thinking that that's what that person might do. So in terms of comp prep for me, that's me. One question that I've got is for yourself, based around training, which would be awesome to hear, because I think you'll see people's opinions on this is, I think, quite naive, and I think yours would be spot on. So, a lot of big bodybuilders who openly talk about their training, regardless natural or not, they don't actually change their workouts too much from a programming point of view. Do you change your programming completely, or how does it sort of look structured?
That's a great question, and that's something I get asked all the time. And when it comes to programming, guys, you want to run on the same program for as long as you can. You know why? Because if you get into a rhythm and a really nice place with lift progressions, i.e. progressive overload, why would you want to change that? Like, I've been running my split now since I finished prep, and I'm not being funny, I finished my prep doing shit like, I could even deadlift 140 kilos for 2 reps. Like, tomorrow I'm going to deadlift 190 for 5. There's no doubt. Like, if you're rotating movements or changing your splits every so often, like too often, your body is just not going to get used to the movement. So you're not going to learn the pattern of the movement. So learning a movement and learning how to pattern it and just neurologically adapting to the movement itself is a skill. So learning a skill takes time. So when you've just got good at it, why would you change it because Barry from the gym says after 12 weeks you need to switch up your training plan? Absolutely not.
Big bad.
Like, guys, run with the same plan for as long as you can, honestly. And if you really feel like things need to change, what you want to do is look at the movements that are stalling and then rotate them out for something similar. So if something like a flat dumbbell press is stalling, look to do a flat Smith press or or like a flat floor press or some rotation for the exercise. But there is no need to change splits. There really is not. That's just, I get it. I understand because people want you to buy their 12-week plan because they want to sell their ebook. But reality is this kind of shit and getting good at it is pretty much just down to the basics and how long you could adhere to the basics. But remember that people want to sell you their shit. So try not to give in to those idiots just trying to take your money, pretty much.
100%. And in terms of touching on that, it's like I think it was Muscle Mentors maybe mentioned this. I'm not sure I might be wrong, but someone said that if in a team LRF maybe, I don't know, I'm on prep. It was someone who I follow and respect highly anyway. They said that basically if your coach is changing your training, it's just to try and fog the fact that they don't know what really they're doing. It's trying to excite you and motivate you and not really educate in the principles of physiological response to exercise and the importance of getting good at stuff you're good at. So I agree with that, and I knew that'd be your answer. I'm on the complete same page as that. I've been doing high incline Smith for fucking 100 weeks now. Like it doesn't change, but that's why again in terms of when you're going into this stuff and you're going into the comp, it's relaying that back to why am I doing it, because you do the same stuff quite a lot of the time, and you're going to work or you're having a game, and it's the same thing as it has been for the last 105 weeks, and you've progressed 2.5 kg, but you've got to want to love that and know that it's because it's productive. And like you said, in terms of if a movement's stalling or I begin to get a little niggle, then one, fix the niggle by getting treatment or foam rolling, or chop it out for something similar, which I know is going to target the same muscle group, like 100%. So we're in complete adherence to each other with that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've got another good one from the same guy again. He's come up with a little double one. This is now to do with food, so he's ticked both boxes. Now, it says the word bulk, which I'm not a fan of to begin with anyway. That's okay. What do you find the optimal way to stay on track during a bulk? I.e., keep progressing, what sort of goals would you use instead of get heavier, get bigger, up food? So what's your mentality in a growing phase, basically, from mainly a food point of view? What's your sort of take on what food achieves in a season?
From a food perspective, I try and keep food pretty much similar day to day. Look at surrounding your workouts with good quality carbohydrates pre, intra, and post. Look to utilize those windows. But guys, I'm not going to sit here and say to you that eating 150 grams of carbs post workout with your GDA is going to be superb or it's going to be life changing, because it's really not. It's really not. Yeah, I mean, having carbohydrates around your training for sure will help. The question is, are we going to really utilize the glycogen that we're putting in an hour before training? No, probably not. No way, we're not. We're going to use the food we ate the day before. So I'd really just focus on just staying consistent with your nutrition, trying to keep digestion bang on as food comes up. That's something that's very important, because if you're trying to get funky with your food sources, like, this is fair enough if you want to change around your foods, but don't change around things too often, because again, your GI might be disrupted slightly, which is a big thing when people gain or gaining phase, or just an improvement phase, whatever people want to say. Like, just focus on staying consistent with your nutrition. Just do what's been working. Like, there's no need to change anything drastic. There's no need. Like, but you're always going to see the whole fancy thing when it comes to like nutrition and just being just everything that's fancy and sexy these days is stuff like blood glucose monitors and heart rate variabilities in the morning, and whether you're on a parasympathetic or sympathetic nervous system at 7 a.m. in the morning dictates your entire day. Yeah, maybe not though. I think they're good tools potentially for some people to utilise, for sure. But come on, like how much?
Yeah,
Louis, come on, how much do we see of that though? Like, things like GDAs that they may provide a percent, maybe. I don't know.
I completely see where you're coming from with that, and especially if someone isn't like yourself, relentless with every single day, same nutrition, same macros to facilitate that growth, then don't worry about buying the flashy next gadget to try and make you feel like you're doing it when you're not doing it. That's for me the big thing.
Yeah.
And that's like big on whether that's a blood glucose thing. Like, I'll use blood glucose, but that's because I'm regimented and I've had the same thing. And in terms of what you touched on and not making the food fancy, it's like myself and Ian have worked together, and I think there's been one food adjustment the whole time of a drop of carbs, and that for me is just completely normal. And I think when people decide to work with an online coach, that's where, as a coach, you have to make that decision of the right thing or the thing that might sucker them along for a little bit longer, right? Because you have to educate your clients, and the client has to educate themselves that actually there is no magic follow this keto for a bit and then we're going to do this to get you there. It's, appreciate that the coach has taken X amount of hours to find that initial setup period, and there's going to be the adjustments of finding the sweet spot for you to facilitate and build from there. And it's actually the support alongside that to have someone there with the journey with coaching. But yeah, food for me in a growing season is just simply eating enough to be able to recover. At the end of the day, it's the training, the intensity, and the progressive overload, in my opinion, that's going to facilitate the growth, not just ramping up calories. If you ramp up calories but you're not training hard, then you're just in a calorie surplus for no reason. So for me, like my macros would be on a sweet spot based around my NEAT activity, and as my training intensity goes up as I get stronger, then my food will go alongside that. But I'll always base it off recovery. If it's taking me too long to recover, then one, look at training volume, but two, actually, am I eating enough to facilitate the recovery? So in terms of the food thing, like we both just said there, again, it's just consistent food base, which allows you to recover, have enough energy, and obviously slowly, you don't want your scale weight to be going down at all. Although that isn't really a bad thing if you're carrying excess body fat anyway, you're going into it. So there's variables to think about, definitely, with that being said.
Covered that well.
I've got another one. I'm trying to find it because it took us so long to organise the actual thing to when the questions were asked.
Let me have a look, see if I can get the life of going on WhatsApp when you haven't been on for about half an hour, do you?
Yeah, mate. Literally, me now. I'm getting from people check with clients.
Yeah. I've got one that you print screen to me. This
double check that.
Double check it.
Is it the right one?
It is a question. So it doesn't how to cope with lose. It doesn't really. Maybe you'll know who said it, and maybe you'll understand it. What it says is how to cope with losing and how to make the right decisions after.
Nice. No, that's my brain's a mess. Nice. I think that's a good one for you to answer first, mate, because of you competing a lot more sooner than I have, so you're a lot more raw with it, but then it sounds like you've turned a corner with it in general anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I assume it's how to cope with losing on stage. Is that the question?
Yeah, let's go with fitness. It's not, yeah. Let's go how do you go with, yeah.
Well, if I'm going to relate that to myself, then I can imagine it's a bodybuilding-esque question. So, how to cope with losing a bodybuilding show? Pretty easy, really, because at the end of the day, a bodybuilding show is purely subjective. So, as long as you're at your best on the show day, you cannot do anything else. You can't influence a subjective sport. Like, do your best. The best is all you can do. Be in shape, be lean, be really, really hard, dry and separated on stage. Have your glutes all the way in. If you still lose, who cares? You look fucking shit hot and the photos are going to display that. So, I mean, coping of losing, I didn't really worry about it, to be honest, because I knew I was at my best and I was happy that I was at my best, and that was a win to me, to be honest.
Yeah, nice. And I think that's the sort of bit of a paradox of bodybuilding, is that you may want to turn pro, but equally it's that self fulfillment of knowing that you didn't cheat on your diet, you stayed disciplined. There was no one in the house. You could have gone in the fridge and ate shit, but you didn't, and it's like still taking that win away from it. And I agree, like you need to just bear that in mind when you are doing things, and in terms of losing. And I think because coming from a sport where you rely on someone else to win and lose sometimes, as football, I could lose a game of football and be like, I got to let that go because it wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
So I kind of carry that attitude when I compete. It's like it's someone else's opinion. It's not because I missed that shot.
Yeah.
That'd be a whole other thing to have to deal with, and that's a whole other mental game if you're in an individual sport where you've missed a shot. I think that'd be a whole other question to try and dig into.
Yeah. Complete agreement, mate. I've got one more question for one of my clients. Let me just grab it, if I can just find it. Where are we? 2 seconds. There's actually quite a few questions. I still can't believe that was your blood glucose reading, by the way. The other day I just scrolled over your blood glucose reading. Insane.
When I get told to dig in.
Yeah,
I just didn't feel too great.
Yeah, you do. Here we go. So I've got a question from Ben, one of my clients, Ben. So, what advice would you give to someone just wanting to get in shape?
Amazing.
Very easy question to answer.
Someone who wants to get in shape, I would say find a style of training that you enjoy, and find a way of life which involves social but also enjoying your food. But then the bottom line of that is getting the right education.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
To get in shape, best bit of advice I'd give to get in shape. So find something. If you're a lifestyle guy and you just feel a bit better and look a bit better, just set out a plan that you can actually stick to. There's no point setting unrealistic expectations when it comes to the goals you're setting on a daily basis. If you're setting macro goals or meal plan goals that are just simply not gonna work, you're not gonna stick to, just don't do it. Stick to stuff that you can do. So factor in things that you enjoy, like Louis just said, the certain training that you're doing, the meals that you enjoy eating, and just generally just try your best to enjoy the process, really, and make sure that it's an enjoyable one, because if it's just to get in shape, you want to make sure it's something that doesn't scar you, i.e. contest prep.
Yeah, make you happy. Be happy.
Yeah.
That's all it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
So, I'm all out of questions.
Yeah. I am as well. We've wrapped up an hour and 22 minutes on here. It's been a good one.
It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. And as we've sort of touched on social media anyway, it's something that we're gonna look to do more frequent. It might be a topic which we're both passionate about and want to talk about. It might be one of us, and we're gonna get the other one to talk about it, or just maybe some simple question and answers covering all domains. So, obviously, if you did enjoy this one, be sure to subscribe, because there's plenty more coming.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, then sorry, but that was a long hour and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, if you made it to the end, absolutely. So just guys, just to touch on it, we're gonna try. Well, not try. We are going to. Now we've sorted out the eCam crap. Now I've actually filmed this. We're gonna do this weekly, which is gonna be no issues now, because it's gonna roll. When you get it in place, it just rolls like a rolling train.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do these weekly. 100%. It can be things like certain topics, discussions. We can just chat about a load of stuff. We can do updates on Louis' prep as well, which people would love to listen to. We can do updates on my never-ending gaining phase. I just seem to get, ever so bigger and slightly fatter every week. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm gonna upload one on my channel, and then Louis is gonna upload one on his channel. We're gonna keep it rolling. So yeah, guys, if you have any questions, I'll link Louis' Instagram. So if you want coaching off Louis, he's 100% someone to go to. At the moment, I'm pretty chock-a-block. So if you're interested in coaching from me, Louis is my go-to man, because, like I said, I'm very busy with coaching, and I don't want to take on too many people that I can't give the same service as Louis understands. We spoke about this the other day. So I'll link all of Louis' stuff in the description, his YouTube, his Instagram, Facebook. Have you got a website, Louis?
Yeah, I've got a website which will get tagged in there.
Yep.
In terms of from my side of the fence, and guys who have obviously come from my following, Jack is a very disciplined and humble, natural competitor who offers advice, insight, but very relatable guy. Someone who isn't driven by the ego, he's driven by honest content and highlighting how much of a motivated client base that he has. So in terms of following him and his journey into his next shows, which he's going to absolutely smash, he's quite humble of how well he did in his first run of things. But if you go and check him out, you'll see that he's someone who truly actually practices what he preaches, and he absolutely loves it, and it shines through every day. And he's got some bigger plans coming, which I'm not going to mention. But in terms of watching his space, he's someone to watch. And obviously, in terms of coaching for myself, I'm getting to that place now where I'm almost not sleeping at all. So there is going to come a time where there's going to... but in all seriousness, do just drop me a message. If you want any advice in general, just another opinion on stuff, my DMs are always open just for chats too. So don't feel like you've got to pay to get something from us. We're always there just to give that advice.
Absolutely. For sure. 100%. Yeah, guys, any questions, you want to apply the coaching, it's just DM Louis, he'll reply 100%, and I will as well as soon as I see the message. So, hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, we'll be excited to see the response on this. Any questions, just fire them in the comment section below, and we'll definitely reply, and then we'll get another one going next week. We need to think of a name as well. The best name that I see, I'll give a 1 month free coaching to.
Yeah, I'll give the 1 month after that for the rebound.
yeah. Awesome, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll speak very soon.
Yes. See you later.